Hi everyone, I'm GREYMOND. Today we're going to be talking about OCD recovery. I'm going to be answering questions that you've left below any of my videos. I'm picking them up today, and sorry for not being here last week. I was really sick, pretty much a near-death experience. Not really, but really sick, and I missed last week, so there's going to be a lot more questions. So again, this is probably going to be a two-part, so if you don't hear your question in this one, it's most likely going to be in the next one. So let's get started. The first question is, I'm getting stuck with the feelings that come with my theme, feelings of wanting it and a bit of avoidance. I have been searching the internet to see if my symptoms are still OCD, and I haven't found too much medical research, but a ton of people having the same worries or why it feels real and stuff like that. But I'm worrying that since no medical person has given the details, I'm going through that. What I'm dealing is different. And so on. Okay, so basically what you have to understand is that what you're doing is really seeking reassurance. The more reassurance you seek, the worse this is going to get. You know, by searching the internet, you're trying to figure it out, you're reacting with fear. The more you react with fear to the OCD thought, the worse this OCD thought is going to get. Because your mind is taking the fact that you're reacting with fear to mean that there's something actually wrong. So you have to refuse reacting with fear as much as possible. You know, and then the more you refuse reacting with fear, the more power you will feel, the better things are going to become. But no checking in the internet anymore, no analyzing, not doing any of it. Because the more you do it, the worse it's going to get. OCD always attaches by the feelings. So don't try to compare your situation to other people's and having exactly the same thought and why is mine not exactly the same and all of this kind of stuff, because you're going to be just going around and around. This is OCD. I'm choosing to view it as OCD. I'm choosing not to respond with fear. I'm choosing not to check. I'm choosing not to react, even though it feels uncomfortable. You're stepping over that uncomfortableness and going forward in recovery, because otherwise you can't recover until you do that. And it's not going to be perfect every time, and there's going to be times where you kind of have a setback and you do end up checking or analyzing or whatever, but more than not, you have to choose to refuse. All these things are really normal parts of OCD. And in terms of the medical person, what do you define as a medical person? A person that's been for 1 year in school, for 2 years, for 3 years, a person who has a stamp on their certificate that says they're a doctor? Well, what if that medical doctor, what if that psychologist they're psychologists, but how many people did they treat with OCD? 1, 2, 100, 1,000? Everybody's different. Every doctor is different. Just because a doctor put a stamp of approval on it, it doesn't necessarily make it true or real or foolproof. Right now, you're looking for reassurance. You're looking for 100% of reassurance in order to be able to move on. You're doing it from a position of fear, meaning you're taking a step back in your recovery. Get back on the road of recovery, start taking steps forward, and start continuing to recover. So you'll see it will start to, the anxiety will start to fade away a little bit, and then you'll start to feel better. You'll get stronger in it, but no more online research. That never helps. The next question is, I have OCD from many years ago. How do I stop it? I'm 25 years old and OCD has spoiled my life. I lost everything in my life because of OCD. Please help. You have to do the work. You have to do the recovery work. As long as you're reacting with fear, you're going to continue to get worse. So whatever theme you have, whatever thought you have, stop reacting with fear. Yes, the fear is coming in. It's going to be there, but your response of analyzing, checking, doing rituals, various compulsions, all of that is making it worse. So you will feel kind of at first like you're jumping out of an airplane with a parachute that may or may not open, because it may or may not be an OCD thought. That's how it feels, right? But you have to do this, and you will see that the parachute will open. You will be fine. You will get over this thought, and then you will get over OCD. But until you make that push and step over the fear, nothing is going to happen. And that's why you've been kind of falling down up until now, is because you've been reacting with fear. That's what happens to anybody who deals with OCD. So that's, that's kind of the essence of OCD. Next question is, my question is that sometimes I feel like my anxiety went down and I don't react to the thought and it doesn't bother me. I feel like I'm cleared for a moment, and then sometimes I get the thought again and react. And in another state that when for a moment that I feel my thought isn't bothering me, I keep feeling constantly anxious that the thought will come back, and so will my OCD. So, okay, sometimes people get focused on the actual recovery process and anticipating and fearing a new thought coming in. Again, you have to go back to how you are reacting. Are you reacting right now from a position of power or from a position of fear? If you're sending fear to the brain will equate fear to danger, because in normal life circumstances, when we are in fear, we're usually in danger. So the brain doesn't understand OCD. It doesn't understand that these thoughts are trivial and not important. It only understands fear equals danger. You're showing fear means you're in danger. That means the brain, what can the brain do to protect you from the danger? It can bring you more similar type of thoughts. So the more you react with fear, the more in danger you will feel and the more thoughts you will get. So, okay, you know what? You have to look at it realistically that, that the thought can come in. At some point, realistically, you will take a step back in recovery and you will fall down and you will react, because we're not robots and this is normal part of the recovery. But if most of the time you're stepping forward, you're going to be just fine and you will recover. And yes, you will have a bad day when you really reacted, you got really anxious and there was a lot of fear, but that day will also pass. Don't anticipate the fear by reacting with fear to a future fear that may or may not happen. When it happens, you will be fine, you will deal with it and you will move forward. But really focus on always reacting from a position of power now. Next question is, I have contamination OCD and I'm finding shopping for food really difficult. Over the last 12 months, I have lost a lot of weight as a result of this, getting by quite often on energy drinks and very little food. I worry so much about the type of people in the stores, always looking out for guys that might be homosexual or African. I worry about the deadly contagious disease that is most, I'm assuming, I don't see the end of the sentence, but most common for OCD. Okay, so you have to do the exposures. The more exposures you do, the better you will feel. So start going back into the store and just getting something. But no more energy drinks. Energy drinks are really bad for your recovery. It's, energy drinks, coffee, anything caffeine related spikes OCD. Not for every single person, but for most people it does. So you have to be really careful that you're not doing that, because I'm telling you, I have 8 years of experience helping people. Makes people worse almost every time. So no more of these drinks. They're not good for you. And really doing the exposures, not being afraid, so say for example, make it kind of like a game for yourself, right? That I'm going to go into the store, no matter who's in it, no matter who looks like what, I'm going to go buy, say, 2 items, okay, or buy 3 items, and then the next day make it more and more and more and more until you feel comfortable. You will feel comfortable as you continue to do this, but it will take a little bit of time. Okay, so next question is, I had OCD so long I would feel weird without it. You know what, to be honest, you won't. Because OCD it's not like one day you wake up and you're like, oh, I have no OCD. Just like it comes little by little, it kind of increases. That's the same way it goes away. So you will see that, I have less thought, but that vacuum that's created in your mind that used to be taken up by OCD will be taken up by regular everyday life things. So you will still have things that you're worried about, but it just won't be OCD related. So it will get taken up by other things, but right now, as you're going through this transition, things might seem to be different. You just have to be pushing through. So next question is, next message. When you have anxiety, you want to start reaction, tell yourself, if I do it, I support my abnormal behavior and stop it. Time goes forward every second, and all of your mistakes in the past are normal. So yeah, the person is just saying, like, this is actually an interesting way of doing things. Yeah, just, really not taking the content seriously, Have the thought be there, but don't take the content seriously. Whatever it tells you, let it say it, but it's saying it over here. Again, what we were talking about before. Imagine yourself going down a corridor, and it's a dark corridor, and there's things coming out on either side, but there's light at the end of it, and you're going in the middle of the corridor. Whatever's happening on the side, it can't get you. Unless you go on that side and let it get you, right? But as long as you're walking down the corridor in the middle, nothing is gonna happen, Just keep doing it, and then if you fail and it's a hard day, and a lot of the times people fail because of stress, because of different things that are real things happening in their life that create situations where you can't focus on OCD as much, and then because you're not focused on OCD as much, OCD can sneak in and you start doing compulsion, or just analyze this a little bit, and before you know it, you're right back into it. So just seeing how OCD is developing and really learning those patterns, so you're not surprised by it, because the one thing, OCD always works on a pattern, always. So if you're feeling bad right now, what did you do yesterday in terms of reassurance, in terms of reacting with fear? Where did you go wrong? And you can you can analyze, and you can see, okay, here's where I went wrong, not gonna happen again, now I'm moving forward, and really learning how the disorder works. Can I approach the thought with anger and not fear, or just ignore it altogether? Anger is fine. You can be angry at it, you can swear at it, you can yell at it, because that's all position of power, or you can ignore it altogether. As long as it's not fear, as long as it's not panic, I'm fine with either one of those. Next question is, when you say that everything is OCD, this can't be all the time true, because when I'm driving and fear, I may actually run someone over. My wife says she also fears that. Other normal people have my same fears too, yet we take it to another degree. So, okay, OCD, there's some OCD types which is kind of, the thoughts are way out there, and people that don't have OCD would normally not get those thoughts because they're really kind of convoluted and really intense. But most, I would say 90% of OCD thoughts that people with OCD get, that become an OCD theme, are thoughts that who's normal really, right? But average person gets as well. But the reaction is different. So any thought that is giving you abnormal anxiety is an OCD thought. So a high level of anxiety. Now, for your wife, she can, for example, like what you're saying here, right? Or for some other person, they can also get that thought, but it won't be an OCD thought because it won't come with such a high level of anxiety. So the level of fear and the level of anxiety is what really makes a difference between an OCD thought versus a non-OCD thought. So next question is, what if your OCD fear happens? Mine did. Someone told me I look tired and now I can't sleep and I'm panicking about how I look. Okay, so in this situation, the fear is, what if I feel like I look tired, right? That's the fear. But at the same time, all of us look tired from time to time. I look tired sometimes. So the fear is, I'm not exactly sure what underneath that looking tired, what does that mean to you, right? But there's an underlying thing behind it, right? So it's like, for example, to equate it into another type of OCD, it's like you're saying, we were all driving and I thought that I hit something, and then somebody asked, what was that? Like, but really you did hit something. You hit a bump on the road. You didn't hit a person or an animal or anything like that, right? So even though technically the situation is true, the underlying value of it is not what it seems to you because of the fear. It seems like it's something more when it really isn't, We can all look tired and it's fine, but you're equating it to something more. Paying attention, analyzing, coming from a position of fear. The more you come from a position of fear, the worse it gets. So it's just choosing not to do those things. Well, somebody's saying about the app, this is awesome, Ali, waiting for the Android version. Yeah, the Android version of the app is coming soon. We're just developing it. We're kind of just in the process. But if you want to download the app for the iPhone or iPad, you can do so from the App Store. I'll leave a link below as well. Next question is, what about constant PTSD? Someone in my family seems to have borderline personality disorder along with PTSD. I have PTSD and I live with this person and can't move out. I wish I was able to start seeing life more differently, improve my life, and not be stuck in PTSD. Again, I mean, I'm not an expert on PTSD, but a lot of the times OCD itself is a post-traumatic situation, where, say, for example, a person had something bad happen in their family, or, a lot of the time it can be something even, it's not really trauma, but it's something that shocks a person, such as seeing something bad happen in a movie, or somebody said some story or whatever, something just affected them, and then it kind of goes into OCD. So that happens a lot as well. And it's what you allow yourself to react to. The more you allow yourself to react to these thoughts, the worse these thoughts are going to get. The more severe, OCD or PTSD is going to get. Again, I'm not an expert on PTSD, but to an extent, it's again, you're analyzing, overthinking the situation, not allowing yourself to move on. Yeah, I can tell you, in terms of OCD, with OCD, you are already free from it. Technically speaking, you are the one who's keeping it going by keeping analyzing. As soon as you let it go, it's gone. There's a physical factor here where it does take a little time for the brain to unplug and all of that, but really, it's dependent on you as a source of power. So you cut off that power, and that's it. You are free to do that. You have that control. You're just not exercising the control, but you do have it. Even though sometimes it doesn't, I understand when you're in the grips of it, it really doesn't feel like you have it. But you do have the control of not only having a thought and reacting to every thought, but then choosing also not to react. You can choose to react, you can choose not to react. You're free to make both choices. Next question is, I've been doing recovery on my own. I've gotten over my main theme of OCD, good. But now I started facing something new and I don't know what it is. Let's say if I have something important to do and it scares me since it's important, so I'm not supposed to do it in the opposite way because it would lead me to a lot of problems and disaster. So I do this important thing, and then afterwards my mind starts telling me that what if I did it exactly oppositely to lead yourself to problems? Okay, so it's a what if. So whenever your mind tells you what if this or what if that, it's an OCD thought, right? You are how do you recognize it as an OCD thought? So you're asking me, you're answering your own question, that this is an OCD thought, your theme switched. A lot of the time this happens as you get further in recovery because your mind is not really attached to a specific type of OCD. It can be any type of OCD, it can be any type of thought, it's attached to the anxiety. So as long as you're feeding the anxiety, it doesn't matter really what you're thinking about. So your mind can switch from one thought to another, it does it, that's fine. But when you're trying to figure things out, that's what really makes it worse. So just choosing not to figure things out, the more you do, the worse you're gonna get with it. Next question is, hi Ali, can tea make anxiety and OCD worse? Thank you for the app. I have Android, so looking forward to using it. Yeah, a lot of people have Android, so yeah, that's going to be coming up, I'm hoping, in the next few weeks. So I'm just working with the developer to finish it up. So to continue to make OCD worse, I don't think so, really. And another person wrote back, in my experience, tea has actually done the opposite of making my OCD, or opposite of making it worse. I drink tea pretty regularly, 3-4 times a week, and often find my nerves being calmed. It is good to know that caffeine affects people in different ways, so just be mindful on the effects it has on you. And that's true. I found that really the coffee did, even like having one cup of coffee, people around me would notice the difference between if one day I had it or I didn't, because the level of anxiety would be higher. In terms of tea, with myself, I didn't find it. With other people, I didn't find it. Yeah, I don't find it either really with clients, so I don't really see it happening. Just trying to find the next question. Thank you guys so much. There's so many nice comments, and it's, I'm really happy that I can do this, and that, a lot of people are just watching this channel and going through the videos and recovering. It's really great. Honestly, I can tell you, this program really works. This way of recovery really works, and it's a long-lasting recovery. You're not going to be dependent on medication, on seeing somebody, on doing some sort of a specific thing. You just do this one time in your life. Really buckle down and take this recovery process seriously, and you will recover, and then you will just move on with your life. You'll get your life back. Yes, the process is difficult. To feel the fear and do nothing about it is difficult, but it's a limited time in your life that you have to do this, and afterwards you get your life back. It's unbelievably worth it. Just stay put and do the work. That's all it takes. So the next person says, so the person is asking about thoughts moving from one situation to another, and a lot of the times OCD does move from one situation to another, but it's like you have to kind of look at it that all of these situations really have to do with the same thing. So you have to look at it the same way and choose to push through. The more you push through, the better you're going to feel about it. So sometimes it's related to problems, like creating problems in school and studies and things like that, for students especially, because that's what's important to you. So it is creating it. So whatever problems you are getting, you have to work on doing the recovery work. So exposures. If your OCD is a pure O type of OCD where there's no physical compulsions, then the exposure is the thought itself. So I'm getting the thought, I'm choosing not to react. That's the exposure and response prevention. You're preventing the response of reaction, preventing the response of fear. So the only way you should be reacting is with indifference. That, yeah, the thought is there. And that's what, a lot of the times people say, well, what does it mean when people say, you should accept the thought? And when you're saying accept the thought, it means to accept the thought as being there, like it exists, it's there, it exists. But the validity of this thought, there's no validity. It's not valid. The content is not valid. So you're accepting the thought as if it's existing, but you're not accepting the content because the content is false. So that's all I have for today. I am doing a part 2 because there's a lot more questions because I did miss last week. So look out for that in a few days. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. If you would like to do a one-on-one recovery program with me, all the information is on youhaveocd.com. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.